Welcome back to Casa Verde Diaries, where we grow with heart, learn with purpose, and prove season after season that a truly beautiful garden does not have to cost a fortune. Now I want to say something right at the start that might surprise a few of you, and I genuinely want your thoughts on this in the comments below. Here it is. I believe most gardeners are dramatically overspending on their gardens, buying annuals every single year, replacing plants that die, starting completely over each spring. And the whole time, the solution has been sitting right there in the perennial section of every garden center, quietly waiting to be noticed. Plant it once. Watch it come back year after year. And watch your garden look more expensive every single season without spending a single extra dollar. That is the power of perennials. And today here at Casa Verde Diaries, we are going deep on 12 of the most beautiful, most reliable, and most rewarding perennials you can put in the ground this June for a summer garden that genuinely turns heads. Stay with me all the way to the end because I have a closing thought about what a truly gorgeous garden actually requires that most people never hear. And it has nothing to do with money. Let us get into it. Number 1 on our list is daylilies. And if there is one plant that belongs in every single garden on this list, it is this one. Now here is something that surprises almost every new gardener when they first hear it. Each individual daylily bloom lasts only a single day, just one day, and yet somehow, these plants produce the most continuously colorful display in the entire summer garden. How? Because each stem carries multiple buds, opening one after another in a beautiful rolling sequence of fresh blooms that keeps going for weeks. It is like a little piece of garden magic happening right outside your door every single morning. Daylilies are genuinely one of the toughest, most adaptable plants in the gardening world. They love full sun but will manage in partial shade. They handle heat, they handle drought once established, and they will grow happily in spots where other plants simply give up. Whether you are gardening in the warm south or the cooler north, daylilies are built for wherever you are. When planting in June, choose well-drained soil enriched with a little compost or aged organic matter. Space them about 18 inches apart to give them room to spread and fill out beautifully. Once they are in the ground and settled, your main job is simply to deadhead the spent blooms to keep encouraging fresh ones to open. Here is a tip that experienced gardeners swear by. Plant your daylilies in groups of 3, 5, or 7. Always odd numbers. It sounds like a small thing, but it creates a natural, flowing look that makes your garden feel professionally designed rather than randomly planted. The difference is genuinely remarkable. And every 3 to 4 years, divide your daylily clumps to keep them blooming vigorously. You will end up with more plants than you started with, which means more color in your garden for absolutely zero extra cost. That is the kind of generosity that makes daylilies the true workhorse of the summer garden. Number 2 is lavender. And if you are not already growing lavender, I want you to consider this your personal invitation to start this June. There is something almost unfair about lavender. It is gorgeous. It smells like pure calm in plant form. It attracts bees and butterflies. It makes beautiful cut flowers. You can use it in cooking, in homemade sachets, in oils. And on top of all of that, it is one of the most drought-tolerant, low-maintenance perennials you can possibly grow. It asks very little and gives back an extraordinary amount. Lavender loves full sun and absolutely thrives in the long, warm days of a June garden. The more sunlight it gets, the happier and more fragrant it becomes. The one thing it cannot tolerate is waterlogged soil. So if your garden has heavy clay, work in some sand or fine gravel to improve drainage before planting. Space your plants about 18 inches apart for good airflow, which also helps prevent any issues with mold or mildew. Lavender pairs beautifully with other Mediterranean-style plants like rosemary and thyme, which share its love of sun and its preference for drier conditions. Imagine a garden border of lavender's purple spikes contrasted against the silvery green of rosemary. That combination looks like something from a high-end garden design magazine, and it costs almost nothing to create. One small but important harvesting tip. Cut lavender blooms in the morning before the full heat of the day sets in. That is when the fragrance is at its absolute peak and the flowers will last longest in arrangements or dried bundles. Number 3 is Coneflower, also known as Echinacea, and this one holds a very special place in my garden heart. Coneflowers are tough in the most admirable way. They handle heat. They handle drought once established. They grow in a wide range of soil types as long as drainage is decent. And they bloom all summer long in shades of pink, purple, white, and orange that bring a wild, joyful energy to any garden bed. Plant them in June in a full sun location with well-drained soil, spaced about 18 to 24 inches apart depending on the variety, and they will reward you generously. Here is what makes coneflowers genuinely remarkable beyond their beauty. They are native to North America, which means local bees, butterflies, and even hummingbirds recognize them instinctively as a food source. By planting Echinacea, you are not just decorating your garden. You are actively supporting the local ecosystem. That matters more than most people realize. Deadhead the spent flowers regularly to extend the blooming season. But if you want to attract goldfinches in late summer and fall, leave some of the dried seed heads standing. The birds will absolutely thank you for it. And for those of you interested in natural wellness, Echinacea has been used in herbal medicine for centuries to support immune health. You can harvest the roots and flowers to make teas and tinctures. A plant that beautifies your garden, feeds pollinators, produces stunning cut flowers, and supports your health. The value of this one perennial is almost impossible to overstate. Number 4 is Shasta daisy. And there is a reason this classic has been growing in gardens for generations. That simple, cheerful combination of white petals and a bright golden yellow center carries a kind of timeless summer joy that almost nothing else in the garden replicates. Shasta daisies bloom from early summer right through to fall, meaning your garden stays fresh and bright for an extraordinarily long season. They love full sun and well-drained soil. They make outstanding cut flowers, and they require almost nothing from you once they are established. Deadhead regularly as blooms begin to fade, and you will be amazed at how the plant keeps pushing out fresh flowers week after week. Shasta daisies work beautifully in mixed cottage garden beds alongside lavender, coneflowers, and daylilies. Group several together for a bold white sweep of color that creates a stunning visual anchor in any garden design. This is one of those plants that looks expensive and effortful even when it is neither. And for those of us who want a garden that impresses without exhausting us, that is exactly the kind of plant we need more of. Number 5 is Black-Eyed Susan. Bold, wild, and absolutely resilient. If you want color that blazes from midsummer all the way through fall, Black-Eyed Susans are one of the finest choices you can make. That striking combination of golden yellow petals surrounding a deep dark center is one of the most visually impactful things you can grow in a summer garden. And these plants are practically indestructible. Drought tolerant, deer resistant, low maintenance, and happy in full sun and well-drained soil. Once they are settled in, they essentially take care of themselves. Black-Eyed Susans are native to North America, which means they are deeply connected to local wildlife. Bees and butterflies love them. Goldfinches are particularly attracted to their seed heads in late fall. Space plants about 18 to 24 inches apart. They can reach up to 3 feet tall, so they work beautifully at the back of a border or as a dramatic centerpiece in a wildflower-style garden. Cut them back after their first big flush of blooms to encourage a second round later in the season. This simple step keeps your garden looking vibrant and full long after other summer flowers have started to fade. Now we are halfway through our list, friends, and if you are finding this valuable and you want more content like this every single week from Casa Verde Diaries, please hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell. I put so much care into every one of these videos, and I would hate for you to miss what is coming next. Now let us keep going because the second half of this list has some genuinely beautiful surprises in it. Number 6 is Peonies. And I want to take a moment here because peonies deserve to be spoken about with real reverence. These are not just flowers. They are one of the most spectacular, most fragrant, most romantically beautiful things a garden can produce. Enormous, lush, layered blooms in soft blush pinks, creamy whites, and deep vibrant reds that fill the air around them with a fragrance that is almost too beautiful to believe. And here is what makes peonies truly extraordinary. Plant them once, care for them properly, and they will bloom for you every single year for decades. There are peonies growing in gardens today that were planted by grandparents. That kind of lasting beauty is genuinely rare. Peonies prefer full sun and well-drained soil. When planting, the most important thing to remember is depth. The eyes, those small pink buds at the crown of the plant, should sit no more than 1 to 2 inches below the soil surface. Plant them too deep and they simply will not bloom. It is the #1 peony mistake, and it is entirely avoidable if you know about it. Peonies take a season or two to fully establish themselves, so do not be discouraged if the first year is modest. By year 3, you will understand completely why gardeners have treasured these plants for generations. Cut spent blooms after flowering. Cut stems back to the ground in fall. Add a light layer of mulch over winter, and then simply step back and let time do its beautiful work. Number 7 is coral bells, also known as heuchera. And this one is the secret weapon of sophisticated garden design. Most people think of perennials purely in terms of their flowers. Coral bells will change that thinking completely. The real showstopper here is the foliage. Deep burgundy purples, shimmering silvers, warm caramels, and rich greens, all displayed in beautifully shaped leaves that hold their color and drama from spring through fall. The delicate bell-shaped flower spikes that appear in summer are a lovely bonus, attracting hummingbirds and bees, but it is the foliage that makes coral bells truly irreplaceable in a well-designed garden. They thrive in partial to full shade, which makes them absolute gifts for those tricky darker corners of the garden where so many other plants struggle. Plant them in moist, well-drained soil, and they will quietly fill those spaces with extraordinary color and texture. They work beautifully as ground cover, as border edging, and in containers on shaded patios and porches. Group them in clusters of 3 or 5 for maximum impact, and mix different color varieties together for a layered, jewel-toned effect that looks genuinely luxurious. This is the kind of plant that makes visitors stop and ask what it is. And the answer is always more impressive than they expect. Number 8 is Sedum, also called Stonecrop. And this is the plant for every sun-baked, dry, challenging spot in your garden that nothing else seems to want to grow in. Sedum is a succulent perennial that thrives in full sun and poor, dry, even rocky soil. The conditions that most plants struggle with are precisely the conditions Sedum loves most. It produces gorgeous clusters of star-shaped flowers in late summer and fall in shades of pink, red, yellow, and white. And its thick, fleshy, sculptural foliage looks interesting and beautiful all season long, even before those flowers appear. Too much water is actually the only real way to harm sedum. If your soil drains well and you plant it in a sunny spot, sedum will essentially grow itself. It is outstanding as a ground cover, as a rock garden plant, on slopes where other plants wash away, and tucked into gaps between stepping stones. It suppresses weeds naturally with its dense mat of growth and needs only a light tidy-up trim in early spring to look its best all year. For a plant that asks almost nothing and delivers beautiful structure, texture, and late-season color, sedum is one of the most underappreciated perennials in the garden world. Number 9 is Astilbe. And this is the plant that transforms shady, damp spots from problems into genuine garden highlights. Most gardeners struggle with shade. They have spots under trees, along north-facing fences, beside sheds where the light simply does not reach well enough for most flowering plants. Astilbe was made for exactly those places. Its feathery, plume-like flower spikes in shades of pink, red, white, and purple rise elegantly above deeply textured foliage and create one of the most graceful and romantic displays in the summer garden. Astilbe loves moist, well-drained soil and partial to full shade. If you have a spot that stays a little damp, a low area that holds moisture, or a corner under a large tree, Astilbe will absolutely thrive there. Keep it watered during dry spells and it will reward you generously. The plume flowers are stunning in cut arrangements, bringing that feathery elegance indoors. And after the blooms fade, the seed heads dry beautifully and add interesting winter structure to the garden. Cut stems back after blooming to encourage strong growth for the following season. And divide clumps every 3 to 4 years to keep them vigorous and producing those gorgeous flower spikes year after year. Number 10 is Yarrow. Tough, vibrant, and quietly extraordinary. Yarrow is the kind of plant that experienced gardeners always have in their gardens but often forget to mention when giving advice to beginners. And that is a real shame because yarrow is one of the most forgiving, most productive, most visually cheerful perennials you can grow. It thrives in full sun, tolerates poor soil, handles drought beautifully once established, and produces flat-topped clusters of tiny flowers in vivid shades of red, yellow, orange, and white from late spring right through summer. Bees and butterflies are wildly attracted to yarrow's flowers, making it one of the best pollinator support plants you can add to a garden. And the cut flowers are outstanding in arrangements, with a rustic wildflower character that looks beautiful in both casual and elegant bouquets. The flowers dry exceptionally well too, holding their color for months in dried arrangements. Yarrow also carries a long tradition of medicinal use. It has been used in herbal remedies for centuries and is one of those plants that reminds us how deeply connected gardening and wellness have always been. Plant yarrow in a sunny spot with well-drained soil and then essentially leave it alone. It is one of those perennials that responds to low maintenance with high performance. And in a garden full of beautiful but demanding plants, that kind of easy generosity is worth its weight in gold. Number 11 is Hostas. And for anyone gardening with significant shade, Hostas are nothing short of a revelation. Where most plants see shade as a limitation, Hostas see it as home. They are grown primarily for their foliage rather than their flowers, and what foliage it is. Enormous, architectural leaves in every shade of green imaginable, from deep forest green to pale blue-green to bright chartreuse gold. Many with striking variegated edges or centers that catch whatever light is available and turn it into something genuinely beautiful. The subtle lavender and white flower spikes that appear in midsummer are a lovely addition, and they attract pollinators and hummingbirds. Hostas thrive in partial to full shade with moist, well-drained soil. They are particularly outstanding as border plants around trees, along shaded walkways, and in those garden areas where the afternoon sun simply does not reach. Once established, they are extraordinarily self-sufficient. Water regularly during dry periods, and they will ask very little else of you. Plant different varieties together for a rich tapestry of leaf colors, textures, and sizes. A large blue-leafed hosta beside a smaller gold one beside a variegated green and white variety creates a layered, lush effect that makes a shaded garden corner look intentionally and beautifully designed. Hostas are the kind of plant that improves every garden they are part of, quietly and reliably, season after season. And number 12, our final perennial today, is Bleeding Heart. And I saved this one for last because it is in a category of its own when it comes to pure romantic garden beauty. Bleeding Heart produces the most uniquely shaped flowers in the garden world. Delicate, perfectly formed little heart-shaped blooms hanging in graceful arching rows from slender stems, each one looking like a tiny jewel suspended in midair. In soft pink, deep rose, and pure white, they create an almost dreamlike quality in a shaded garden corner that nothing else quite matches. Bleeding Heart thrives in cool, partially shaded spots with rich, consistently moist soil. It blooms in late spring to early summer and will go dormant in the heat of midsummer, which is perfectly natural and nothing to worry about. Plant shade-tolerant companions like hostas or ferns nearby to fill the space gracefully after the Bleeding Heart rests. This plant is outstanding in woodland garden settings, and creates an extraordinary visual partnership with Hostas. The bold, structural hosta leaves behind the delicate hanging hearts of bleeding heart in front produces a combination of textures and forms that looks like it was designed by someone who truly understood what beauty in a garden really means. Well, here we are, friends. 12 perennials. 12 reasons to fall even more deeply in love with gardening. And here is that final thought I promised you. The one most people never hear. The secret to a garden that looks expensive is not the most expensive plants. It is not the most perfect soil. It is not even the most hours spent weeding and pruning. It is the wisdom of choosing plants that belong in your specific space, that match your light, your soil, your climate, and your life. Choose the right plants and the garden almost grows itself into something beautiful. These 12 perennials will come back for you year after year, season after season, growing more established and more beautiful with every passing year. That is not just gardening. That is an investment in the life you are building around your home. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 12 perennials are you most excited to plant this June? Drop it in the comments right now. And if you already grow any of these beauties, tell me about your experience. I read every single comment and I genuinely love hearing from every one of you in our Casa Verde community. If this video added something to your gardening life today, please give it a like and share it with a fellow gardener who deserves a more beautiful garden this summer. Until next time, happy growing, friends. Now go put something beautiful in the ground.